TradeSquare is Australia's first business-to-business marketplace connecting people, brands and organisations into this diverse ecosystem in a unique global landscape. Through pivoting, transforming and reshaping, Australian businesses have an opportunity to create the model for the future that aligns with the world's needs and leveraging the power of a collaborative approach. Through the TradeSquare podcast, we will bring together dynamic, diverse and thought-provoking leaders from business, government and organisations to have conversations to further enable new thinking for the future. Welcome to TradeSquare, Australia's leading business-to-business marketplace. I'm Catherine Vandermeulen, and in today's podcast, we're connecting and learning from Adrian Falk, founder of Believe Advertising and PR. In this episode of Learning Square, we're exploring how public relations and media can support the growth of your organisation through building trust and credibility. How are you, Adrian?
Thanks so much, Catherine, for having me. I'm awesome. How are you today?
Wonderful, thank you. So can you share with us who is Adrian Falk?
Sure. So I'm the founder of Believe Advertising and PR, and I've actually been going for 20 years next month, which is crazy. My whole philosophy on Believe is I always say the easiest thing that you can find in life is someone that doesn't believe in what your dreams and aspirations are. From a young age, I moved to New York a week after finishing university. I always wanted to work in advertising, and my inspiration for that was Melrose Place. I don't know if you remember Melrose Place. That's how I chose my career profession. And it was awesome. I was working there in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, and then doing amazing things. And it realized, after living the Manhattan lifestyle, that I'm just a rat in the wheel. And in order to get ahead, I've got to do this myself. So at the age of 24, packed my bags, came back to Australia, and then I started my own business. But the problem was I had no clients. And that's where I called myself Believe, because I had to believe myself that I could do this. So during the day, what I did was I grabbed the yellow pages. I literally started at the letter A, and I cold called companies. It took 6 weeks to get my first client. And at night, I would work in a call center selling charity raffle tickets. I was so determined not to ever work for anyone ever again. And I think, especially your listeners, we've all been in that headspace where you've got your business dreams and aspirations and just a bit of motivation, and that's your goals, just to keep you going. And that was what kept me going. It's like, I can't work for anyone ever again. This needs to work. Failure is not an option. And now fast forward to 20 years, I've worked with amazing companies in Australia, and now I work internationally with companies around the globe, getting them media coverage.
Awesome. I want to go back to one of the things that you shared about opening the yellow pages back in the day, probably when they were physical yellow pages, and going through line by line to really find the right companies. Tell me about that experience, because obviously people cold calling and connecting with people that they don't know can be, a huge fear to actually go out there and share what you're doing and creating conversations. Tell me a bit more about that experience back in the 90s.
So the cold calling experience was one of my most valuable business experiences I still have to this day. And it's all about the law of numbers and statistics, because I knew, and I had it down pat, if I reach out to 20 people, someone's going to say, yes, come in and meet with me. This was before Zoom, obviously. So then you'd have to, get in the car and drive and meet with them and do your presentation. So I knew it took me 20 calls to get one meeting. And then generally my conversion was pretty good, because once they were in front of me, they could see how energetic and passionate they were, and that translated. And I think that's the thing. And the same with the call center work at night. And I was doing cold call sales, and there was like about 30 to 40 calls you would have to make. And then someone would buy a raffle ticket and they would give you their credit card number over the phone. And that's pretty daunting, asking a stranger on the phone or giving your credit card details. But that's what I was doing. And it was all, legal and legit and everything like that. So that was a really valuable lesson. So I think today we can apply it, and this is still what I do. So even if businesses are feeling a little bit like, need a little bit more motivation, or they're feeling a bit down about something, they can just think, that next call could lead, or that next email or outreach could be the lucky one that's going to get them over the line.
And so creating a recognized brand can take years, as you know, after 20 years in your business.
Yes.
What are 3 things that organizations can do to amplify their brand in a meaningful way to get noticed?
So I would say the 3 things would be, have a great angle. So you want to make sure that your company, how is it different from its competitors? What are your unique selling points? Because your sweet spot is what you need to tap into and own it. So that would be the first one. The second one would be know your audience as well. So some people try and be something to everyone, which doesn't work. So if you are, I know, a small giftware store somewhere, don't try and be a sporting goods company as well. Or don't try and reach, nationwide your customers if you're only in a certain particular local area. So know your audience, work out what they want as well. So ask them, like, what products do you want me to have in my store? What products do you think work, or what doesn't work? And I think this is where TradeSquare is really amazing for your retailers, because you've got over 1,500 products at your clients' fingertips that they can literally tap into. And actually, I think it's more than 1,500. It's hundreds of thousands of products. But yeah, they just have to then drill down what they're wanting to offer to their particular consumers. And then also, I think, would be like, establish your goals. People can lose hindsight. The world's a big place as well, so especially when it comes to publicity. So it would be like, okay, do I want to be in the local paper, or do I want to be on radio or TV? So where is my audience listening, and what media are they consuming? And then you can work out your goals from there, especially with PR.
So can you share a case study of a brand or an entrepreneur that you've worked with that has leveraged PR to build their brand?
Yeah, there's been so many. One person I would say would be Harry Sanders. So he is an amazing person. He lives in Melbourne. He was referred to me by a client, and I started working with him at the age of 21. And 4 years prior to that, he was homeless, living under a bridge in Melbourne. And he got to a position of homelessness because his parents got separated, and he didn't get on with his mum's boyfriend at the time, and he just wanted to get his SEO agency off the ground. So he literally got kicked out, had nowhere to live. And I guess, similar to myself, he was like cold calling from homeless shelters companies to get SEO work. And then I got that story out on Daily Mail, just one news story. And this is what I still swear by today. One news story can really change your business overnight. That story went viral. BBC Radio then had him on air from the one Daily Mail story. And everyone was listening to his story. And they were calling him up saying, Harry, we love what you're doing. Can you do SEO for us in the UK? And the problem was, he didn't even have an office in the UK, knew nothing about London. But because of the demand, 3 months later, he actually set up an office there. And now his business is Australia's largest dedicated SEO agency called Studio Hawk. And he's going great guns.
That is an awesome story. Thanks for sharing that.
No worries.
So what are 3 things that brands can do to build credibility?
Sure. I would say you need to be memorable to your customers. So whether it's an amazing experience, amazing storefront or website or product offering, there's so many little things that just by tweaking it, especially in an online space, it might be free shipping or, gift wrapping or whatnot, that you will become just a point of difference to every other online or retail store. So being memorable is really good. But then you also have to be consistent, which would be number 2. So there's no point doing something great for a day, and then the next time someone comes in to purchase from you, whether it's online or face-to-face, then it's a different experience. So you want to make sure that you have that consistency as well. And then also the third one would be available. So as I mentioned, if you get to know your customers, and that's one of the first points we talked about. So obviously you have to be, if your customers are buying online, maybe have an online support chat during the day, or look to see when your trading hours are to make sure that it fits in with your customers' schedule, especially say like leading up to Christmas, you might have longer trading times or something like that. So those are the three things I think that could definitely help.
So leaning in from credibility, the idea of credibility, can you share a case study of a brand or an entrepreneur again that you've worked with that has used PR to build their credibility and trust?
Yeah, I would say there's one client called Wednesday Cleanse Day. So it's an amazing product. It helps you with intermittent fasting feel full, but it also gets you amazing glowing skin. So we had an amazing case study, and it was a girl from Melbourne, and within 6 weeks she got amazing glowing skin and managed to lose 6 kilos as well. So using a consumer case study was the key to the PR strategy, and then we rolled that out as a news story that ran on Daily Mail and 7 News and 9 Honey, and literally the sales from those stories amounted to a lot of money. Yeah, over 100,000 in sales from a few news stories, which is fantastic. And it's not the first time I've done that for a client, just getting them, like a news story. Often one news story that I can get for a client in the media by using a case study can result into their website crashing and them selling out a product. Because obviously with publicity, you can say how great you are, but when you use a case study that shows the credibility of your product or your service, that's even more powerful and more amazing.
And so how can influencer marketing support businesses to create a voice in a new market?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's one client that we worked with, and they actually do these, they're called brolly sheets. And so it's great. That's based in New Zealand. They're for bedwetting. So we used influencer marketing for them to help get awareness out to people. And, when people think of influencers, gone are the days when you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, say, for someone like Kim Kardashian. I think micro influencers are so much more powerful because they have a dedicated following. So when we go back to talking about your audience and finding your niche, if you know that you need to have like a mummy blogger, then find mummy bloggers in your area or your local city and give them product. And often these micro influencers are more than happy to do posts and social media content in exchange for product or your service. So you don't need any payment at all, which is awesome, which is great for your listeners when they're thinking, oh, well, we want to do influencer marketing outreach, but we don't want to pay thousands of dollars. So I think also, as we all know, traditional media, while it's great, you have to, knowing your audience, if you find that they're on Instagram 5 hours a day or TikTok or trawling through Facebook, then that's where you need to be. So you go where your audience is, and that's where social media influencers can definitely help gain awareness for your brand.
You mentioned one of the case studies before that had used influencer marketing to create that awareness. Have you come across any case studies that you could share that really have opened the doors of a new market?
A new market, yeah, absolutely. I would say, I've done so many different industries over the years. There's been one of them, it's been a homemaker client where they've had candles and there have been amazing soy candles, and we just, they didn't have a massive budget. So that's where we did an influencer outreach program for them. And leading up to Christmas, we sent all these influencers gingerbread candles, and they were there online, on their social media pages describing the amazing scent. And we had to then, get a call from the client saying, please stop promoting this now because we're running out of our gingerbread candles. And that was literally the only form of media that we were doing, was through social media influencer marketing. And the great thing as well is that has a twofold effect. So you reach their audience, but you can use that content and put it on your social media as well. So you know how time consuming it is to set up the right photo with the lighting. Then this is all done for you by just sending out often a candle to an influencer, which is amazing.
To all the right people.
Yeah.
And Adrian, finally, in this podcast series, we've been connecting with Australian businesses, supporting other Aussie businesses to create growth and have impact. Can you share a story of something that you are super proud of, where your knowledge has supported the growth of an Australian company or entrepreneur?
Well, I've worked with so many companies, such as TradeSquare, and helping you guys also spread the message about the amazing things you're doing. Because honestly, I think TradeSquare is fantastic in just helping brands get their businesses off the ground, or to, in uncertain times of COVID, help you provide a great product offering and service offering, and also negotiating prices and payment terms, all the heartache that everyone goes through. And I even know when starting out a business, I feel like you've done the hard yards for everyone, which is amazing. So I feel like firsthand, like TradeSquare would be a perfect example. I mean, other companies, they've been e-commerce businesses that, e-commerce coaches. There's been business coaches that I've worked with. Dale Beaumont's an awesome business coach as well, that I've managed to help him get international media for. I'm trying to think who else. Even myself, like I have like giving back initiatives, partnering with B1G1 to every PR campaign. We're always helping to change the world, because I always want to make the world a better place, as I say, than when I found it. So, and, so depending if someone's like got a candle client, for example, and they come on board as a client, as a thank you to that client, I will then say to them, for your support, I've given a family in India solar powered lighting for the next year. And it sort of ties in nicely with their product. So things like that. And there's more. You can read more about my giving initiatives on my website, which is believeadvertising.com, and people can find out more about everything I can help them with and support them as well. And there's a lot of free PR tools on there as well.
Wonderful. You've certainly shared so much of your wisdom with TradeSquare, and I really hope that everyone can take some of the key learnings and implement these things into their business to help them to create more success online. So thank you, Adrian, for being part of the TradeSquare podcast.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Catherine, for having me.
For more information on TradeSquare, head to www.tradesquare.com.au and support Australian business economic recovery and growth with a collaborative approach to the future of business.